we are kind of, like I said, that defense system where the client's like, Matt, if they, do something they're not supposed to do, they get access, they need access to something, make sure it's this particular access. At one point I implemented, when I first started helping them, they literally had like 24 people, 24 admins. They were just all admins. And we had a situation where somebody left, got fired or whatever, and they came in and just started wrecking the place. And so Matt fixed that situation and created unique roles. And so now that's part of what we do, right? And I help them create that process of removing and adding people to those roles. We are kind of like their defense system, right? We have weaponry everywhere to protect their site. But it's not just the plugins or the scripts or the systems we use. It's also just, we're troops. we have checkpoints, right? Oh, that'd actually be that's a great analogy. This other agency, the person that our contact there, said, we usually don't have this problem. People give us access. I said, well, we don't. we don't. And the client's in that same chat. So he's like, yeah, this is how we protect, because I've trained him well. This is how we make sure our website's up, because every minute it's down, we're losing money, lots of money. And all of those forge that relationship. And every time you fix something, every time you prevent something from happening, or you advise them, because I'm an advisor too. When they sent me the links to the Elementor, I sent an email to them. I said, Hi, I'm Matt Levenhagen, founder of Unified Web Design, Unified Plugins, and your host of the Builders Podcast. Here on The Builders, our goal is to uncover the first principles behind building businesses, products, and services. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe or follow wherever you're listening. And if you find value in our content, a like, share, or review is always appreciated. Let's dive in and explore the roots of innovation and progress together. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another The Builders. Today, we are joined by myself. I know that's stupid. I've said that before. I'll try not to be stupid. It's just me. It's a solo episode today. I'm a little thrown off because there's a new pop-up in my interface when I started. When you use software for like years on end. Actually, it's probably only been, I've been using Riverside for 3 or 4 years. I think almost since probably I started doing video. And once in a while, they change the interface. And most of the time, it's fine. But the last time I recorded, I looked down, there was, for a long while, on the start and stop button, they had the time, like how much time you're into it, because I have to watch that, obviously. And I was like 30 seconds into the to recording with my guest, and I looked down and it's not there. So instantly I think something's wrong. So I probably was, I had a look of confusion for no apparent reason for a second. I might even uttered something, but I'm like, okay, I'm fine. And then I looked up and like, oh, they put it up there now. Okay. It's above the video. So that's good. So we're 1 minute and 23 seconds in, guys. So anyway, besides that, we're going to talk about a relationship I've had with a client it is going on 4 years. It is almost 4 years. It is going on, actually, it'd be going on the 5th year. It's a Saturday. It's a little late in the week for me to be doing this recording. So if I'm not perfect, if I'm not on my A game, maybe just like a B++ game today, I apologize. Anyway, so yeah, since May 14th, 2021, that's officially when it started, because I looked it up today. I went back and all my invoices, and that was the first invoice. Actually, it might have been a little before that, though. All right. That's when the monthly contract started, but we actually did work for them a couple months before that. So yeah, so officially probably over 4 years. Awesome. All right, even better. Yeah, that's how it started. Though it was actually this particular client we're going to talk about today was a referral from another developer that I knew, and this developer, thinking back, this developer had they had like another job or another other contracts or whatever, and he didn't have time for this particular client. So they pinged me on LinkedIn, and next thing you know, I'm diving right into a problem. And that was why they were connecting me, because he hadn't, he still talks about it today, where like our first interaction was, at this time, now this is 4 years ago. So I can't remember if I had a team yet, but it was pretty early in the stages of having a team. So I may have just done it. I did do it. So my team was doing something else if I did have one. But I went in and I fixed something like in maybe an hour, 2 hours or something. It was an issue with his hero and video or whatever in his hero. And he said, at that moment, that was where the relationship crystallized, because there was another team trying to fix that particular issue, and it had been days. So 1 to 2 hours compared to days was good. And I don't know if we did anything, but from that point forward until the contract started, but we've had that contract now since, like I said, May 14th of 2021. So it's been great. It's one of our best contracts. We've gotten better ones, like size wise, but in terms of having a great client and the relationship and all that, it's one of my faves. Anyway, so we're gonna get into that. I thought I'd just note too that just a general, if you follow my business, on the builders, we talk a lot about building things, especially in season 2, which we're deep into now. We talk about building products, services, businesses, and other things. We just talked about building mindset recently, but it's got to be really framed inside that building of something. And some of you that have followed me over the years will know that I share about what's going on with my agency. I have a web design and development agency, and that's in the context of what this client is. And so I share kind of that journey along the way. I probably used to do it more regularly. As I was, I've been having this podcast for like 4.5 years. So pretty much the whole time I've had this client, and so it's been a ride, but I've shared along the way, and every time I have a solo episode, I try to extract something from my own business, usually, or my own experience. So that's what we're going to do today. But that's what we're going to start with. Just kind of give you an update on how things are going. And I would say things are going great. You may have caught somewhere as well in one of the podcasts that 2024 wasn't my best favorite year. It was a struggle. I went into the year like gangbusters. I was like, we had these big contracts, and like things were, we had momentum going into the year. We had a huge one. I had one particular contract that I thought for sure we were closing shortly into the new year, because there was this huge push. It was with a partner. It was this huge push at the end of 2023 to get the estimates and everything done for this particular client. We had been working on this client for over a year already, and gone through different phases of discovery and meetings. This was on-site meetings, and it was a big company. We'll just put it that way. And if we would have gotten it, if we started it, that it would have kept a couple of my developers busy full time for probably a year and a half. And at least, so it was a big project. And the funny thing is I hear that it's not technically still officially closed. It's still open-ended. It could pop up any day, but I'm not holding my breath at this point. But but that's the reason I tell you that is going into last year was, I'm like, oh, we got that. There was some other things percolating, and we had some, the client I'm actually talking to today had another project. They had another patent on another product, and we were going to help them build that site, and then that got delayed for reasons. There's that was the year, and so halfway through the year, I had to start letting people go on my team. We actually had to cut back and cut expenses and to ride it all out. And then 2025 hit. This is actually a really, really good lesson. There's a lesson in here as well. I won't get into it today, probably that deep, but the lesson is you're going to have those times, those years. Sometimes it's a month. Sometimes it's a bad week. Sometimes it's a whole year that's not so great. But if, I honestly there was different points in the year, especially later in the year, where I'm not sure I could stop the bleeding. I didn't want to let go of certain team members. I had worked so hard over several years to build this team. I had everybody in the seats I needed them to be in, and we were just this really great unit of developers and designers and the internal team that, just for our whole business. And it was rough, but then 2025 hit, and we rode that out. We, was resilient. Even though at the time, probably I wasn't feeling super resilient. As you see things burning around you. But we put out the flames, and we made it through the year, and then 2025 hit, and several things happened on multiple fronts. We got a new contract, we got other larger projects, and we got all this stuff. Just January, just all hit, and my team since then, I'm recording this beginning of April, and since January, February, March, April, a couple months. Couple months, my team is like tripled in size again. We got, I've had to bring in developers just to work on certain large projects, but also to handle everything else. We got other contracts that, doing more stuff. And I have a new full-time project manager. I have a new full-time QA person, QA analyst that works alongside her. Just for one thing, we have I brought in I had a really good back-end developer that helped me with a large project at the end of last year, and I kept him on full time. He's a dedicated resource now. So many great things. It just all happened all at once, though. So I've been, for the last several months, it's like when that happens, you're like, oh, that was kind of nice last year, actually. It's a little bit of a break. But no, when that happens, suddenly, it depends on how big your company is, I guess, your agency. We're a small boutique agency. I'm still like doing a lot of the things, right? I have help, obviously, to manage things and so on and so forth, and to do the development and all that. But I'm still, kind of at that stage where I'm still running a lot of stuff. But I had to, figure out how I was going to hire people in between also getting a whole new contract. Also, besides this team growing, our workload's tripling, quadrupling. And that comes with new relationships, new things happening. There's a lot of problems that bubble to the surface, and you have to solve. And sometimes it's not perfect at first. It takes time to kind of iron out things, trip up, fall down, pick yourself back up, and keep going. A lot happened, and that's been the year I'm having. Things are going pretty darn good, but knock on wood. I mean, that could change again tomorrow, but that's just the business. But hopefully, like we're going to talk about today with this relationship that I've built for the last 4 years, hopefully things will be stable and this will be the next tier we're at, right? And then continue to build from there. But yeah, so that's, I thought I'd give you a quick update on that and how we're doing. I can't. It's madness, but I'm still here doing the podcast. This is again, this is kind of my break. Like last year, I was like, I should have relaxed more last year. But this is nice. You know, I got a time frame. I'm going to record this. I'm not worrying about all those things going on. But when I'm done, I got some tax stuff to handle. Have new projects to estimate. I got actually several to do this weekend. I know we're not supposed to work on the weekends, but you know, sometimes you gotta. Okay, that's the everyone has this kind of rosy idea that you should only work Monday through Friday, have great balance all the time. It's not all the time. I have pretty good balance. I don't burn out, although this last week tested me a little bit, but we don't burn out. You know, we're pretty good. I just got some extra nap last night, and it's fine. I got it. I'm there. But yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna. We'll leave it at that. But it's been a fun ride, and I'm looking forward to what the rest of this year is going to bring. It's funny because like this is a moment where you dream and you think about and you build your business, and again it kind of ties in what we're talking about today. You've kind of created your value, you created your brand, you've created, you've worked really hard to forge this thing that is your entity, your agency, or your business, whatever company you have. You've worked sweat, tears, and failures and successes, and creating lots of SOPs and mission statements and vision statements, or going through all the ups and downs of everything, right? And then all of a sudden it all gels all at once. It's like, this is our dream contract. This is that. And now you got to go to work. And you got to work some weekends. Anyway, let's talk about this. So I don't typically, when I talk about one of our clients or especially partners, but this is actually a direct client, I don't typically talk about the client, give you the client name or website or company. I kind of have the framework of a lot of stuff we do as white label. But I don't know. I mean, I guess if you did a little bit of Googling, you can probably figure out who we're talking about today, possibly. I might mention them somewhere. There, go do your research. Go see if you can hunt it down. Send me a message if you think you figured it out. Anyway, because there might be clues in here. I don't know. I'm just gonna speak to it. I got a little bit of a bullet list here. We're gonna go through it. But this particular client, again, May 14th, 2021. So leading up to that, we had built this beginning relationship by solving some problems for him and becoming such a reliable source. And I don't know, I've had a lot of these conversations and contracts over the years, trying to think back of how that all came together. But I probably looked at what, our relationship, how it could evolve, and looked at his issues and said, you need a maintenance contract. You need a maintenance you need help. And as it often is, other contracts have been the same way, where they're a complete mess, a disaster waiting to happen. And certainly they were. They had a lot of problems. This is a WordPress site. It's e-commerce. They have a couple sites, more now, but at the time, it was mainly this first site that we concentrated on, and the theme had issues. It was a custom theme. It was bloated. It was having a lot of issues, and one of the first big initiatives, and it was an initiative for several years, was speed and performance. So we really had to work hard because they depended a lot on Google traffic. I was like, at the time, it was like 90% of their business was coming from that. They do a lot more advertising, I think, today. And they're doing all kinds of things today, but that's what's fun too. You have a relationship like this for 4 years. You get to watch another business blossom and grow. I mean, at this point, they have a whole new product. And like I said, that other product we actually haven't tackled yet. I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. But, and then they have this other, they have a couple sites, 3 sites. And anyway, but at the time it was solving that speed, that performance problem, and they needed a contract. And we wanted to also, as we're going to talk about today with this is that it's really important when you have an e-commerce store. Now was not, even when we first got it, it was not a small store. I mean, this is a business making multiple millions in revenue per year, right? Day one, when we came on board. And so that with that comes the responsibility that you got to keep that website up and running and working well, right? You can't be crashing, right? You can't have just any developers in there doing whatever and making spaghetti out of everything. You can't have that. You have to treat it a little bit differently, because if the site goes down, in this case, even for a half hour, they're losing revenue. Like it's not like, maybe some sites out there that have larger ticket items or whatever, and maybe they can be offline for a half a day and it didn't really have that big of an impact. But this is by the minute. So there's sales coming in every hour, right? And they're not small sales. There's, each sale is hundreds of dollars. So that's the kind of the price point of the product. There's different, there's full payments, and then they got payment options, but anyway, so it's important. And so in the beginning, that was what I helped them untangle that theme. And in the beginning, it was me kind of starting off, and then I kind of hand that off slowly to my team, and found a dedicated, kind of situation for that. So the other important thing with something like this is the fact that I want to build a team, or, even if it's one developer, that's all they do is work on this site, or they know this site inside and out, and it becomes their baby. And we have good processes. And this is a site that eventually we moved into. I don't want to get too technical here. We moved into like a versioning system. Like, if you've ever heard of Git, if you know what that is, it's basically a code repository, and where everything is just simply tracked down to the line of code, down to the character. You can track if you changed one character in the code, one letter, one dot, whatever, that can be tracked, and the history and the time that happened and the description of why that happened. All that stuff's tracked. And then you have certain processes of how you update the site. It's a kind of a complex site. There's unfortunately dozens of plugins and things to worry about. There's a lot happening. The marketing departments rely heavily on the site being up, and all the things that they, and their plugins, things they use in there, right? Even down to the coupons and management and all that. They have a large support team. They have, I don't know how many people they have now. I don't know. At some point they had 20, 25. They might have more or less now, in the support department that go in there every day. And that's where they manage their orders and handle problems and, process things. Excuse the interruption, but I'd like to take a quick moment to thank the sponsors of the Builders Podcast, Unified Web Design and Unified Plugins. At Unified Web Design, we specialize in crafting custom websites and providing comprehensive design and development solutions to help businesses build a strong online presence. Unified Plugins offers a suite of WordPress tools designed to help you create beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive conversions. Explore how these services can elevate your digital projects by visiting unifiedwebdesign.com and unifiedplugins.com. Now back to our program. Because there's shipping involved with this, is a physical product. But that is, that's kind of what we're working on here. And now over that time, like I said, we worked hard on improving the performance, improving the code base, and over time, we become more and more integral, and important in this managing of this site. We're the team that is managing and the caretakers of the code and the website and keeping it up to date. And with WordPress sites, it's really important that it's regularly updated. But you also have to own that process of how that happens without breaking the site. So we have like a staging situation. A staging site is basically a duplicate of the site somewhere. You do the updates over there first. And then you, I'm sorry, I know on audio sometimes I might have done something that cracked myself up, and then I laugh, and you're like, why is he laughing for no reason? But I'm pointing somewhere off in the distance because there's a staging site over there somewhere. There might be multiple ones. And those, that's where you make updates, or you build features, and you do different things, and there's different branching happening and different developers working on things. But then you have this, eventually I had just one of those channels just helps with WordPress updates, the plugins and themes and the core, and that gets merged in and updated on production. And so we own that process. We own everything. And what happens is over time, we know everything. Oh, we don't want to, it's not an ego. Like we're so special. We know everything, but no, we become, in the context of a project like this, and this is going to be the same way, no matter, if you have products and services, physical products, whatever, you're going to know your stuff inside and out, right? This website kind of becomes our product in a way, right? We know it inside and out. We have maintained this site for 4 years. We have helped with this site. And we have touched every piece of code at this point. We've solved many problems. There are probably, who knows how many problems, bugs that have happened. We've helped with integrations. We've helped with, there's so many things. There's like abandoned cart features and just the theme itself, right? The theme that we helped get under control and optimizing that theme and maintaining that theme over time. All these things are we have learned, and and that makes, that's our value here. It's not, I don't know. Like, I feel like if I put myself in the shoes of somebody like the owner of this website and this business, or the shoes of anybody, like if something happens, you got a website and something breaks, who do you call? If you're bringing in every single time you're going out to Upwork or something, you're bringing in a new person to help fix something. That's part of what got them actually into trouble. So that, remember when I first got it, the code base was kind of messed up. It wasn't that it just maybe could have been built better or simpler, but it was also because multiple developers had been pulled in. And what happens is, if you hire somebody like a developer, off the street or off the Upworks or off the wherevers, they don't know the code base. They don't understand. In this case, it had a build process. This was a framework. It was a CSS framework, but also there was this build process. It was actually it's a whole thing, right? If they don't know that, and they come in and the client doesn't know, right? The client has no idea. Like, the people that built it, do you think they I mean, I guess they could sit down and talk about the code. They just know it was done quickly or this, that, and the other thing. But they don't build it and then say, this is what any future developer is going to know. Probably not. It could have happened, maybe, but maybe it got lost in the shuffle too. But these other developers came in and they hacked that theme. They literally hacked it. Now, again, I don't want to get technical, but there's things you do in a theme to optimize it for speed and stuff. And one of those things is like you minify code, and which means you basically take CSS. We'll talk. This was it happened in JavaScript as well, but CSS code is usually it's nicely formatted and it's easy to read when you're developing it or in general. But when you make it production ready, you will use a tool that basically takes all that and just like packages up into this tight little unit. Just everything just gets condensed, and it just makes it faster. That's what you do, okay? But what happened was that code. Well, this was actually bad because it must have just been like a not even a junior developer. Like this is something you just don't do. They had gone into the minified code and put like regular code inside the minified code in multiple throughout. And then the JavaScript was all over the place too. And so what happens is now you can never minify that code because what typically happens in a theme like this is you have your kind of your source code with the stuff you work on, and then to minify it creates a whole new file, a minified file. Well, if somebody goes in and just directly edits that minified file, you can never build it again. It's a nice challenge. But anyway, so I don't want to get off my train of thought here, but we go through all that. We've learned all that. We've gone through and put out those fires and fixed it. And we know it. We've changed. We took out the build process because it wasn't necessary. We did. Sometimes it's fine. I build custom themes and stuff that do have a simple build process, but it's not. This was way different. It was like an obscure framework. It was. But we learned that. But we also have worked to build these processes. We also understand we have access to everything, from the Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics, to their emails, to we touch so many different systems. And there's a lot of times where it's, I'm working with something or licensing on something and I just have it at this point, because he just wants me to handle it. He doesn't want to be, in there. And so, but I'm telling you all that because your value. So you might just think Matt's out here just selling maintenance plans. That's boring. That's part of it, right? You can boil it down and say, we provide maintenance services. But ultimately, our value is way beyond that. We are the caretakers. Like I said, we protect the site. We are kind of like their defense system, right? We have weaponry everywhere to protect their site. But it's not just the plugins or the scripts or the systems we use. It's also just, we're troops. we have checkpoints. Right? Oh, that'd actually be that's a great analogy. We are that, we're the army that is protecting his site, and he has come to rely on it. There's multiple times in the last several years where he's actually said, Matt, I rely on you. I need you to basically, because he works with other outside agencies, like, especially this last year or two, he's like, they're on this huge push, and they have brought in different marketing agencies, advertising agencies. They've brought in conversion rate optimizing agencies, whatever you call those. And she's working with all these outside, and some of them are doing work, or they're in there, or they're, whatever. They're creating, they got an agency creating content for them now. It's a whole thing. But we interact with every single one of them, whether we're integrating something, we're fixing coupons, we're creating a coupon for somebody that maybe needs it. We're doing all those kind of day-to-day things, but also, how people implement things, and so many stories. We are kind of, like I said, that defense system where the client's like, Matt, if they, do something they're not supposed to do, they get access, they need access to something, make sure it's this particular access. At one point I implemented, when I first started helping them, they literally had like 24 people, 24 admins. They were just all admins. And we had a situation where somebody left, got fired or whatever, and they came in and just started wrecking the place. And so Matt fixed that situation and created unique roles. And so now that's part of what we do, right? And I help them create that process of removing and adding people to those roles. So, but when somebody, even from a code perspective, I mean, they had a marketer for the first couple of years that totally understood, like, she was never to touch that theme and do any code. And I think they did before, but I'm like, no, this is us now. Just let us know what you need and we'll handle it for you. That is because that's the only way, like, we have to have, as the development team that is responsible to keep the site working well and not crashing, we have to know what everybody's doing. We can't have just random people installing stuff. We can't have random people updating the theme code. We can't have even random people, just accessing certain things they're not supposed to access, right? And she had known that, but over time, other agencies and other people involved, have to learn that as well. And you just remind them, or just, when you first start interacting with them, this is how we operate. And the client is totally on board with that through our conversations. I'm like, I've kind of educated him, and like, if you want to protect this asset, let us, guide that process. So I'll be added to conversations and things, and I will jump in if I see something's going sideways. And I'm going to actually give an actual example of, in recent time, this past month, and recent days. So again, he started using, he brought in, he's got an initiative this year, and it's related to building funnels. And that's great. We have other things we've been doing. We've done a lot of stuff for him this year, front end wise too, and rebuilding sites, new designs, all kinds of stuff happening. But this particular agency is handling a particular aspect of what he wants to do this year. He wants to. It's from an advertising perspective, building funnels, building video sales pages. There's a whole thing, a whole system he's implementing, and per the contract with this other agency, they included development. And sometimes I get surprised by the things I didn't know exactly what was going on. I'll just start being introduced to somebody and exactly know what they have all planned. But as I started to learn what they're doing and stuff, and guiding them and getting help, and I'm like, we could have built those funnels for them, built those pages. And, but he's like, well, like I said, it was part of that package. He's going to try to have them do it. And they said they could do it pretty quickly. And for me, it's like, okay, well, they know how to build their funnels. They can go do it. Right. Well, the first thing is, we had to coordinate with them and how they wanted to build them. what they needed to build them. And again, we have very specific processes in terms of how the theme is updated, how we build landing pages, and how we built them over the years. And we do not have an Elementor site. This site is, like I said, it's custom build. It uses, again, not technical, uses advanced custom fields, ACF, to create dynamic content and all this stuff, and help it make it easy to manage and all that. So we didn't use Elementor, but this agency asked if they could use Elementor. Now, my first instinct is no. And can you build it this other way? I can give you. I would let them actually work in the code, but branch off, and we'd help them merge it in and stuff like that. They could build it that way. I don't know anything about how they build things, but they had to have Elementor. And I don't know what they would have done if we just said plain no. But I'm like, well, we'll try. Let's see if we can run it alongside what we got going on here. But we have to look at the performance impact of that, because Elementor is not lightweight, and it also has global things that happen. So how can we optimize it, build these, or have them build these pages? Actually, I'm still not sure. I shouldn't be thinking about work. I just thought of something. One of the things with Elementor that we've learned is that it's actually Elementor that slows down a page. It's nothing. The content on the page, you can remove all the content, and that's going to be a slow page just because it's Elementor. So we figured out that you could build a custom header, custom footer, custom template and stuff, and kind of consolidate. Just there's ways to optimize that, right? But it's custom in nature. And I just realized they just sent us these first pages. I think I saw a header and a footer. I don't know if they created a new header and footer. So I'm not going to, like I said, this is not work. We'll worry about that Monday. Okay. So back to this. So so I'm like, okay, we'll first let's test it. Right. So I had my developer that's in charge of this. I had my lead developer on this project. I'm like, go, set staging or use one of our stagings and test and install. Tested it. We kind of saw how it would work and the issues we'd have. And yes, there was more optimization that would be to be done. We have to, be careful about it. And that was kind of where it was at. Then suddenly they delivered these pages, these landing pages, because I said, we can try it, right? And so they went off and built the Elementor pages. And that's fine. I get it. Okay, this is the way they build things, and it's easier for them to use a page builder. And although there's some custom aspect to what they're doing that we have to help with, but again, sidetrack, worry about it next week. Anyway, so we have, so they deliver these pages. And in this process, I'm talking kind of to the client. We have our own channel, talking to them. I'm coordinating. I'm saying we have to use the staging. We're going to set up a staging just for you. Build all that out on your staging first. We'll help you merge it in. And yeah, that's simple. I mean, we'll work with you. We'll try this, right? And I get it, because like I said, it might be faster for them to build landing pages using Elementor. That's why people love Elementor. Okay, we manage a lot of Elementor sites. This particular one just isn't or wasn't. And so we can do this. So like I said, I'm coordinating. Everything seemed to be kind of understood. And then when they delivered him on the production. Like, they gave links to the landing pages on production. We hadn't even installed Elementor in production yet. So they went around us. Oh, and before that, Before that, it was, I think it was like maybe early this last week. The website went like, it was, I believe it was in the morning, and I get the message urgent, shiny smiles, critical. And then we get our, I got, well, usually we monitor it. So we get a notice the site's down. So we got that probably, but I'm sure very shortly after I get, I'll get them from the customer support who's in there doing stuff, and I'll get it from the client. And we had it back up in probably minutes because we track everything. And what my developer found is they came back and like, well, somebody added code to the functions file. We've temporarily commented this out and brought the site back up. So whatever somebody added, so they're in the live site adding this code, and we didn't give them access to FTP or anything, and they're on a production site, and like, what happens? So now that's our responsibility. That's Matt's, this is my baby. So, like what? And so instantly I'm like, okay, why? We had never had it happen before on this site. And I don't know if we had this maybe unprotected at any point, but there's a way to hide the editor. So there's a way in WordPress where there's actually an editor. It'll warn you, but because it's like you create live edits out of context of everything. They must have went in, used that editor without telling anybody, and just they probably got admin access from the client, and got in there, did that thing, but they probably, however they pasted it or saved it, critical error on the site. But like I said, we can identify that real quick, and then we got the site back up. So that was the first thing, and it was like, and then the client and myself talked to them, said, don't do that. Actually, we didn't know who did it at first, because there are other agencies involved. I mean, it could have been others. And so I didn't like just accuse anybody. I said, we don't know who did this yet, but for future reference, this is how we want to manage things. And I kind of laid it out how, no code changes, blah, blah, blah. And then they apologized and said it was their developer that did that. And that was fine. But so fast forward to the Elementor thing. So now they kind of did the same thing with this, and just went in and installed plugins and created web pages. And they have some some custom stuff they need us to do. But he said, like, this other agency, the person that our contact there said, we usually don't have this problem. People give us access. I said, well, we don't. we don't. And the client's in that same chat. So he's like, yeah, this is how we protect, because I've trained him well. This is how we make sure our website's up, because every minute it's down, we're losing money, lots of money. So that was the end of that, right? But it wasn't any of it, because now we're in this situation. Now, all of that, again, going back, now this is a 4-year relationship. The client and I are on the same page, and again, I have the ability to put a stop on anything and warn, and, delicately, right? I understand, because I have a marketing background as well. I understand that money is speed, money loves speed, right? I want to go. We're going to get things up. Going to go. What's the fastest way to do it? And this agency is probably in the same mindset. Why are they slowing us down? And so I get it, right? And I'm going to try to facilitate it in a way that's going to make things, but that can't happen, because that could have caused other problems. And now we have Elementor installed. So we're going to have to field that. But throughout that process, like I said, though, we have processes in place. We have a system in place. It's not only our job to maintain and update the websites. We're not just updating plugins. We're solving problems. We're doing integrations. We're helping with payment stuff, Stripe stuff, everything that goes on in the e-commerce store, right? We are the problem solvers. They want to start using Klarna now. So we're helping them integrate Klarna through Stripe. We also know the code base, and we also have the process in place to make sure that this site does not, it rarely goes down. I'm not going to say never in the years. We've had issues here and there that have cropped up, but it's usually not, and probably even when updating the site, we do, but if we're updating a site and something breaks, it's like, we can revert, that we just have a good process in place. So things are always going to happen over time, but we got a pretty good handle on it. But that is, do I say but a lot? I feel like I do say but a lot. But we have, we've built this relationship. So there's a lot of trust there, and the client really leans on us to make sure that his site doesn't go down for that minute. Right. And it's not just updating plugins. It's not just fixing a bug here and there. It's us owning the whole thing. Even when you have marketers out there and advertisers and everybody wants things done, they want to do it themselves. They want to get in there. We gotta slow down that process, because that's how you protect revenue that's coming in every day. So through this whole process, though, I got a note this morning, and even on a Saturday, I got a note from the client this morning. It's like, I think they took longer than they said they were going to take to build these pages. That was kind of one of the things too. I thought it would go faster. So I think we're going to have you guys build these pages, and how long do you think it'll take? I haven't answered them yet. Not the 6 weeks it took them. I don't know if we're designing them though. I don't know. I got to figure that out yet. But if we get the designs, it's not going to, they're Elementor pages, pretty straightforward. Now, assuming we're now have Elementor, I might as well stick with it. Because it's probably the thing there, even if we build it, then they can manage it if that's their thing. We'll see how it goes. But so now it kind of comes back to us that we've built that trust. Even when it did crash in that moment, that morning, this last week, the site went critical. I remember telling him, like, I'm kind of impressed my team got it back up so quick. It's like, I was going to mention that. Your team did a great job. And then I turn around and give that message to my team, give them a little boost. Like, it's important. That's a whole nother lesson. That's another episode, but it's important, make sure your team knows. I sometimes, if my client has said something positive, kudos to my team. I will definitely pass that around. I pass that to them. I think that's super important, because they want to make sure they're valued as well. Right. So it's just, you have to, so the lesson here, for us, we are the problem solvers. We helped stabilize his online presence, right? His assets online, his websites, help stabilize them, and protect it and safeguard it and build all those processes that make sure everything works well. So, and everything's, strategic, like why we do everything, but, and then there's also, the team. I was mentioning before, like, pulling random people from Upwork. I might have got distracted from that a little bit, but when you have the same team working on your infrastructure, your website, or even your server or whatever, and You have the same team working on that for years. They're going to know it so well that they just know something will go wrong and they'll be able to fix it way faster because they understand what's all there. They might even have seen that issue before and they can fix it a lot faster. Somebody that's new and doesn't have any idea the complexity of this website, they have to relearn. They have to learn it on the fly. And they may not spend the time to learn it on the fly. They may just hack it. But all of that's our value. So whatever service you're providing, whatever product you're providing, you have to understand and you have to lock in your value. It's not just like for us, our value is not just, having somebody, we're somebody that's going to update their plugins once a month. And yeah, there's value in that. I mean, that's super important too. I've worked on sites that have not updated their plugins for a couple of years. That's not good. It never ends well. I worked on one recently where even the server, I logged into, I had to get access to their VPS, and WHM and cPanel and all that good stuff, their control panels. But I had to do that because I was trying to fix a shipping issue, shipping plugin, UPS, and it stopped working. But when I went in there, it was like 4 or 5 plugins that couldn't be updated because they were on PHP 7.2. That's not good. They're like, PHP, what is that? But I had to, and it was not necessarily an easy process to upgrade it to 7.4, but I got it done. But even that side of things, if somebody sets up a server for you or a web host, do you know about your web hosting? Is somebody helping you manage that? This particular client that I'm talking about today we set up their hosting. It's managed hosting, but we have access to everything and we work with that support and we keep that side of things in good shape as well. So, but our value is way beyond that. It bleeds into his day-to-day business. It bleeds into his marketing department, his advertising. It bleeds into, just the business logic, what he needs to sell and, working with, like Trustpilot, like that was a thing this last year. He's like a Trustpilot person. He wasn't always. Now Trustpilot's the big thing now, and how getting that integrated and actually meeting with Trustpilot, being in those meetings and help it integrate it with the site and help maintain it and make sure it never turns off. Sometimes it does. But we're involved with all of that, and we have to, But that should be something, the value is that he doesn't have to worry about it, right? He knows that Matt is in those conversations and I'm protecting his site. He's got some people, different agency that are handling blog posts, doing that's all like daily blog posts on multiple sites. And there was things around that, because they're adding HTML and right into the posts. They, it's a whole thing, but there's code involved with that, right? So I'm working with them to, number one, help them. Again, that was another agency that just wanted to get into there and add stuff to the theme. And I slowed down that whole process. And yeah, it didn't get done as fast, but it got done safely. And they've had issues over time because they're a blog person. I don't know what the development experience is, but just the other day they had a broken page, and it had nothing to do with anything except the fact that they had dropped in a block of HTML that probably had an open tag or something like that. And those are the things that happen, and we're there to support that and help them. And they needed us to add styles to the site, and we did that. But give us the styles, and we can help you, build that into the theme. We do have a build process. It's just simpler. We do minify the code and stuff. But but all of that, that's our value. We are there to help them build features, to help them build landing pages, to help them anything back end, all of that stuff. But our value, it's not, like I said, not just updating plugins. That's not what a maintenance person does. We're the gatekeepers. We protect it. We protect it. So figure out what your real value is. Are you just a copywriter that just writes content, or are you just like a content person that just writes content for a page? Or are you a person that's like coordinating with other teams and understanding, or maybe the advertising side of it, or whatever and what other values do you bring to the table? And what's that relationship? I said a 4-year relationship that, and he'll tell you this. He would tell you this if you talk to him. Like, we've talked about, like, we're family. We feel like family, he's like, I'm never going to work with anybody else, Matt. Yeah, I don't want to get too big of a head though. Still, yeah, I could still fail. But it's that's the type of relationship it is, though. When you've been in work with somebody for that many years, and I know there's other agencies that have worked with people far longer, but 4 years is a pretty long time. You've been to battle, you've been to war, you've solved major problems, you've been through crises, and all of those forge that relationship. And every time you fix something, every time you prevent something from happening, or you advise them, because I'm an advisor too. When they sent me the links to the Elementor, I sent an email to them. I said, a developer noticed they installed Elementor the other day, but I said, this is not what they should be doing. We set up this staging site. So I'm advising, I'll bring those things to light. He's probably got a million things going on in his, but I'll bring those things to light. And then he will adjust what he's going to do. And at the end of the day, he will, if I recommend something, he's going to probably take it to heart, right? We're not just building websites. We're not just maintaining websites. We're advising. We're, like I said, in those meetings, we're protecting, not only protecting the website, but we're also protecting that long-term client relationship as well. That's how you do it, right? You have to really establish your value in a way that's hard to replace. And I don't want to say, like, I guess it's kind of strategic in a way, but that's naturally what we want to do, right? I care. You have to care about what you do. His sites, I care about them. I protect him, and but that translates to, he knows. I mean, he understands that, I'm there with him, because his success is our success. We've gone through so much over those 4 years that there was even a point of time where their business was down a little bit. I think it was around COVID. It sounded like that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know if it was, I guess if we started in 21, it was after that, but I feel like they had some like residual effects of that, or something happened and their business was suffering a little bit in certain areas to a degree. They've since rebounded, I think. But in that time, I worked with them on the contract and kind of worked through that with them. We kept the contract the whole time. We just pared back a few things we were doing just to help, ease the burden on them a little bit, but at the same time, keep his sites running. Because even in those down times, it's really important that it's even more important in those times that his site doesn't go down. There's certain times of the year that I know, like around tax time, a few months before tax time, he's going to get ramped up. And he'll remind me numerous times, Matt, that's when we don't do anything risky. Like this is a big part of the year, which is interesting. You always think like the biggest part of like, especially physical product years, or biggest part of the year would be like Christmas or like holidays, but not always. Yeah, so that's it. That's what I wanted to talk about. Oh my gosh, it's like an hour already. I hope you didn't mind the long-winded discussion. I actually sat down before this talking to myself. I'm like, keep it to 30 minutes, Matt. We'll just do a quick 30-minute episode today. And here we are at an hour. But it's fun talking about this stuff. It gets me excited. It's this extends, beyond this. Obviously, we have other relationships or newer relationships that we're forging. It's funny when you think about like when you go through fires together, when you go through like critical things, whether that's the website going down or slowing down or for a good part of a day because of some random thing happened, with a plugin or it just all the ups and downs of that. Like I have an agency it was part of like I was talking about in the beginning of this, where we had been working with them for like a year, but we kind of expanded the relationship this year. And but this past week we've gone through, in just a couple of days, we went through it. we had an infestation on one of their servers, and a number of sites got hacked, and it was pretty. We had to get WP Engine involved and just go to battle. And it was the whole team, their team, our team, doing what we could to figure this out. And their, people on their team, like account managers and stuff, like dealing with the clients and the calls and the text messages, because these are big sites. They were pretty serious situation, and we went to battle. But that's the type of thing that, as bad as it is, and you want it to never happen, that's a relationship builder. So I always look at the positive side of things, right? No, it's good. I mean, it's like, yeah. You build your value over time. You solve problems. You be there for them, and you care about them. You care about what you're doing for them. You care about them. Become family. That's how you do it. I'm gonna let you go now because we're past 1 hour now. I've never had a 2-hour episode. Let's keep it going. I can hear my dog outside the door, though. I think she's wanting some attention, so I'm going to go. Thanks a lot. Until next time, take care of yourself. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Builders Podcast. One more quick note about our sponsors. At Unified Web Design, we're passionate about doing better together, partnering with agencies and businesses to deliver exceptional web design, development, and ongoing support. And Unified Plugins offers tools to take your WordPress projects to the next level, helping you build beautiful websites, enhance functionality, and drive more conversions. If you haven't already, subscribe or follow to stay updated on future episodes. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, sharing it with somebody who might benefit helps us grow this amazing community. Until next time, keep building with intention and creativity.